30-year-old Kyra Steger vanished seemingly out of nowhere after a date night at the Mall of America in St. Paul, Minnesota. Welcome to our new video where we unpack every twist from her disappearance to the verdict and beyond. He was late February 2013. Kyra Steger, also spelled Kyra, was 30 years old, full of life, and engaged to a steady guy named Jeffrey Trevino. She managed a clothing store at the Mall of America in Minnesota. People said she was caring, thoughtful, a daughter who kept her whole family connected. Jeffrey had a little girl from a previous marriage, and Kyra treated that child like her own. They'd met years ago in Wisconsin, married, and moved to St. Paul so Jeff could be near his daughter's school. From the outside, it looked like a happy family. But, like real life goes, secrets were hiding just beneath the surface. No joke, this part's what makes the story twisted. In the days leading up to Valentine's Day, things between Kyra and Jeff had been tense. Investigators later said Jeff was a bit jealous. Kyra had been texting a co-worker at the mall store, a guy named RW, and even pulling out blank divorce papers. Did she want out of the marriage? Had she met someone else? By February 21st, the couple decided to enjoy some normal married lifetime together. They planned a fun date night. Nothing fancy, just dinner and a few rounds of bowling at the Mall of America, where Kyra worked. They laughed, shared stories, popped balloons, and went back to Jeff's apartment in St. Paul around 10 p.m. A roommate was home, even saw the two of them cozy on the couch watching a movie. Everything looked normal, alive. Kyra texted her coworker one last time at 11:44 p.m. Then she turned off the lights and went to bed. Jeff hung back on the couch for a bit, it seemed. The house was quiet. Outside, the winter night was calm and cold. But none of them knew it yet. This would be the last time anyone saw Kyra alive. After midnight, the night took a freaky turn. Security cameras on the block caught a flicker of movement. Around 12:45 a.m., a light came on in Jeff and Kyra's side of the house. A half hour later, that light went off. The porch light flicked on for a few minutes, then off again. The house stayed dark until sometime around 4:15 a.m., when the indoor light turned on briefly again. These random flashes were useless in isolation, but they would later piece together into a chilling timeline. Then, at 2 a.m., something weird happened. Surveillance footage from a nearby gas station showed Jeffrey Trevino walking up and pumping gas into Kyra's white Chevy Cobalt. This was the car she drove. He filled up the tank, then turned the car toward I-35E instead of home. Mind you, it's a freezing night in Minnesota. He returned home about 2 hours later. Cameras didn't catch him driving back, but the lights flipped on inside at 4:15, just before dawn. So yes, he had used her car at an odd hour, went off somewhere, came back before sunrise. Nobody knew what he was up to, but it would raise eyebrows later. Morning came, and that's when panic started. Kyra never showed up for her shift that Saturday. Friends and co-workers texted her, radio silence. Her cell phone went straight to voicemail, which was totally unlike Kyra. Sunday morning, after 2 days of no contact, Jeffrey finally reported her missing to police. He told them she woke up after their date night, left around 9 a.m. to hit the gym, and disappeared. Classic husband story, right? The problem was, her phone pinged out the night before and then went dead. She never made it to a gym or anywhere. Her routine was out the window. By Monday, officers had spotted her car parked in the remote west parking ramp of the Mall of America. It had been ticketed by security at 3:56 a.m. Saturday, meaning it sat there all night. Inside, cops found a big shock. Kyra's purse was in the trunk. Her cell phone was in the passenger seat. Even her wallet and driver's license turned up in the car. But their owner wasn't there. In the trunk, they also found bloodstains on the liner, and a weird detail, a blank divorce form. Investigators knew that finding blood where it didn't belong was never a good sign. It screamed, something bad happened. It was like a scene out of a thriller movie, except this was real life, and Kyra was missing. Police joined the dots. On Tuesday, February 26th, after an intense 7-hour search of the East Iowa Avenue home, Jeffrey Trevino was arrested. The search had turned up signs of a struggle. The bedroom looked tampered with, furniture moved around, small smears of blood here and there. Tests would confirm that blood belonged to Kyra. The pillow Kyra had used was gone. So was her sweatshirt that had been on her bed. The only blood found was the tiniest bit, on a bathroom pillow and a mattress. Her mom later said these 2 drops looked like minute blots, but one was her blood. In shock, police pulled Jeff in. They charged him with murder, 2nd degree, both intentional and unintentional, even though they hadn't recovered a body yet. Jeffrey Trevino played the role of the worried husband. He claimed Kyra might have met up with this other guy from work, pointed fingers at anyone but himself. He insisted she might still be alive. Investigators weren't initially focused on Jeff. After all, he was reporting her missing. But then something clicked. They got a call from Kyra's family in Wisconsin. Trevino had used the past tense talking about his wife. That red flag tore open the case in a whole new way. Cops dove into evidence. Check this out. Cameras from the gas station that night showed Jeff making a strange choice. After fueling up, instead of turning back toward home, he turned west onto the interstate. Patrol cars found out he didn't go home first, and a police officer overheard his phone call to a friend. Jeff asked, "Should I report Kyra missing?" The officer friend said, "Yeah, do it. But why wait so long to call?" The timeline was stacking up. It got crazier. Security cams from Friday morning showed two wild clips. First, in the late morning, cameras at the home captured Kyra's car, the white Chevy, moving out of the driveway around 9:15 a.m. Then a taxi cab footage from the Mall of America around 10 a.m. caught a thin figure in a dark hooded sweatshirt. Remember his hoodie with a white design? Hopping into a cab, paying in cash. He told the driver to go to 424 East Iowa Avenue. Problem: no such address existed. The cabbie still dropped him near the Trevino home at 10:40 a.m. And lo and behold, Mr. Trevino got out. Later, a minute later, a person matching that description walked up the Trevino driveway. In other words, Jeff rode a taxi alone from the mall to a fake address near his house, paid $35 in cash, and got dropped basically at home. By then, Kyra was gone. So investigators had Jeff's every move on tape. Fueling her car at 2 a.m., returning home before dawn, driving her car in the morning, then catching a taxi back. It was all happening in the cold pre-dawn light and caught by cameras. His alibi unraveled on film. Meanwhile, Kyra's friends and family were frantic. They plastered "Have you seen Kyra?" posters all over the Twin Cities, bus stops, storefronts, telephone poles. Vigils were held. Everyone wanted to find her alive. Kyra's mother, Marcy, flew in from Wisconsin with her father Jay. They were hopeful, clinging to every lead. In fact, on March 16th, weeks after the disappearance, Kyra's grandfather was walking near a stormwater pond called Keller Lake in Maplewood. What he found would freeze the blood in anyone's veins: a plastic garbage bag with bloody clothes and a pillow inside. Cops dusted it. The pillow had Kyra's DNA in fresh red splotches. This wasn't just a scene. It was the scene. That clue at Keller Lake, plus a stray stack of clues near the house. Somehow Kyra's driver's license was found a few miles away, left no doubt. Then on May 8, 2013, all hell broke loose. Two anglers on the Mississippi River near St. Paul saw something. What looked like a body floating, wrapped in a tarp. When authorities retrieved the figure from the frigid river, they confirmed it was Kyra Steger. Dental records sealed it. Her body was bruised and battered, but identified. It was a brutal sight. She'd been killed and tossed in the river. The medical examiner's report sent more chills. Kyra had a 1-centimeter cut on her forehead, deep and jagged. There was a broken finger, likely the result of her fighting back. Her mouth had a V-shaped cut between nose and lip, as if someone had punched her or pressed a ring against her face. The external wounds were bad enough, but the internal injuries to her mouth were gruesome. Dr. Michael McGee said Kyra's cause of death was homicide by asphyxia, basically smothering, possibly with a pillow or hand. Yeah, no joke. This was murder. All the evidence piled up. Jeff's defense started looking thin. But in court, defense lawyers for Trevino spun a story. They said it was all circumstantial. There's no direct evidence of murder, they argued. He reported her missing. He even cooperated with police. Those bits of blood are tiny. Maybe from Kyra's nosebleed that one time. Who knows? They claimed he was a good husband who loved Kyra. In fact, they blamed that other guy she texted. Maybe he had something to do with it. It made the trial tense. Innocence versus guilt on a knife's edge. Prosecutors, on the other hand, painted a very different picture. They said Jeff Trevino had bottled up rage, thinking Kyra was leaving him. The argument: she was texting RW, maybe planning to move out. He snapped. They played the video clips over and over. Jeff's hoodie, the secret taxi ride, the car left at the mall. They stressed the grim evidence. Blood on the pillow, Kyra's wounds, Jeff's odd behavior. They argued this was murder in cold blood, right after their fight at home. For 10 days in September 2013, the courtroom was electric. Kyra's family was there every day: Jay, Marcy, Kyra's younger sister Carrie, and, staring at Jeff, silently pleading for truth. Each day of testimony felt like a gut punch. Kyra's sister described her as the family glue, always selfless. Marcy Steger said, "She was one of those people who kept the whole family together, and now her family is falling apart." The tension kept building. Finally, the jury locked themselves in to decide Jeff's fate. The options: did he plan to kill his wife, second-degree intentional murder, or did he unintentionally kill her during a felony, second-degree felony murder? They struggled. Two theories, same outcome. Life without Kyra. On October 1st, 2013, they had an answer. Jeffrey Trevino was found guilty of second-degree murder without intent, meaning they believed he killed her, but it wasn't planned or premeditated. Intentional murder? They said he was not guilty on that count. It was a mixed verdict that still mattered. When the verdict came in, the courtroom exploded in emotion. Jeff's family wept. Kyra's family looked stone-faced, some wiping tears. Marcy Steger, Kyra's mom, nearly collapsed as she heard guilty. She whispered through sobs, "We will never have our daughter back, but justice has been done." Jay Steger, her dad, stood tall, voice shaky. "I believe I can finally sleep tonight. If Kyra was here," she'd say, "he isn't walking away with what he did." Straight up, raw honesty. It was surreal. A killer convicted, and still, that wound was fresh. The judge did not pull any punches at sentencing. In November 2013, he looked Jeff in the eye and handed down 27.5 years in prison. Yeah, you heard right. Way above the usual 15-year cap for felony murder. The judge noted extreme cruelty, pointing to how Jeff tried to hide the crime, told lies, and left Kyra's body to rot in the water. Kyra's family said, "It's the toughest sentence we have, but it's the justice we asked for." Even so, no term in jail could ever make up for losing Kyra. In the aftermath, the community stayed stunned. A popular Mall of America employee, a devoted daughter and stepmom, was taken from them. People remember her smile. One friend said, "Kyra literally kept us connected. We can't lose her." Her sister Carrie, and often says the pain never fully stops. Nightmares, she calls it. Because Kyra's gone, but the memories of her warm hugs are not. For all the detectives' hard work, the verdict, and the sentence, one chilling truth remains. A life was lost. And the emptiness that leaves can't really be filled by any courtroom outcome. On a cold Minnesota night, a young woman's light went out. Families still light a candle for her. And if you remember just one thing about this story, let it be how fragile normal life is. Behind every case like this, there are real people. Kyra Steger's case is a stark reminder. Sometimes the face we trust is the one that can hurt us the most. And even when justice seems served, her memory begs us to ask, why did it happen at all? The chilling truth? You'll probably never hear this exact story on the evening news again. But as long as we remember Kyra and cherish the loved ones in our lives, her story stays alive. Because a missing voice, a stolen life, keeps echoing until the end of time.